With just a few weeks left for the budget, which is one of the most anticipated policy documents. And in today's context, I think the numbers of fiscal deficit would be keenly watched. And India's growth projections have been keenly debated by several global agencies. So India has provided in with the world economy likely to grow at 2%. India with its targeted growth or expected growth of 7% is an outlier, is a performer. So I think in that sense, this budget is going to lay out a lot of major macroeconomic data. Um, and I think if I were to look at three key aspects which I would like to see in this budget on the corporate side, clearly, um, I think the strategy of the last 2 years budget has been to get increasing the momentum of China plus one into India. We've had enabling policies like lowering their tax rates to 15%. Uh, and now that we're out of the pandemic, and the world has got time to look at the supply chains and the impact of the pandemic, I think India clearly, the data from India is there for everyone to see the way we've revived and the way we are set to grow in the future. Our own demographic dividend compared to other countries, and the impact of energy crisis seen around the world. So in that sense, we have far lower variables than rest of the world. And how do we become a manufacturing country of choice? I think that's something which we have an opportunity to seize. And I think consistent. So what I would like to see here is at least a 3 year window for big ticket investments to be allowed, new manufacturing to come in, rather than having a sunset clause of 24. I would like the sunset clause to be at least until 2027. And consistent with this, and also integration of the micro, medium and small enterprises into the formal economy, and any value chain to get built, any manufacturing ecosystem to be built, the support of the SME system becomes critical. And especially in a country of the size and diversity of India. So to encourage more formalization of this part of the economy, the mid economy, lower to mid economy, and to allow more such organizations that today exists, largely as sole proprietorship, as partnerships. If they could come and embrace a corporate framework, if they could have a simplified tax code, and which allows them to raise capital, employ and attract talent, brand themselves, I think that would be welcome. So a separate tax code for SME, which is soft touch, is something I would like to see. I think again, one aspect which is again keenly looked at by governments today is how do we ensure we have food security. So globally, I think there are many countries have this issue, and climate change and all of that just precipitates this whole concern. We've got new economic agreements in place, Australia, Middle East, etc., and many more under discussions, as we all know, and which is basically allowing imports of items to happen at concessional or no rates of taxes. And with changing consumption patterns, and also with increasing demand for exports to be made, we all know that stated intention is also doubling the farmer's income. So I was just wondering if we could hope to see provisions that allow formalization, that attract investments of. Can we look at having something like an agricultural special economic zone, and which actually allows transition of adoption of some of the global best practices? Can we look at measures by which what is today the major items that are being imported on the agricultural commodities and food processing? Is that something that can be made within the country? Can we allow enclaves where these companies that are today shipping to India from wherever, can they look at the Indian market and operate from the Indian market, and look at cost competitiveness that arises from it? And can we also allow Indian companies that are part of the food chain to actually also um, uh, revamp their production and technology and form joint ventures, and look at value addition, and look at actually looking at what's required in the global market? So this is something that policy measures are required clearly also from a FEMA standpoint, permitting investments in agriculture. So clearly, any policy steps in this direction would be welcome. I think the common man, clearly, he's been left out in the last two budgets from a direct tax standpoint, and the GST rates are where they are. We've not been able to moderate them, given that we are trying to manage the fiscal deficit. So the direct taxes, the common man would like to see some relief coming in this budget. So if the tax slabs could be rationalized well for the first one or two categories of taxpayers, and if the scope of what can be scope of exemption under ATC, if it can at least be doubled, thereby permitting higher basket of options, which is relative to the options that is available for all classes of investors, as well as flexibility and a higher number would also help allow savings to be channelized into to these investors according to their risk profile. So this is also something that I would hope to see. Thanks.